This is the Television Enthusiast Podcast, the weekly segment.
Episode 24, recorded August 27, 2015.
Hello and welcome to the TV Enthusiast Podcast, the weekly set. Today we're going to be talking about the fall 2015 TV schedule here in America. So we normally, when we've done these before, we've kind of gone over the whole schedule, and then we started to realize like this podcast has been going on for 2.5 hours. And it's getting to be too much, and so this time we picked out the highlights, the stuff that we want to talk about, whether that's because it's something we're excited about or it's something we just want to snark about. So there's a few on here that are going to be kind of snarky, a few that we're just going to talk about. Some will be kind of like little brief things, but yeah, we're just going to go over. We're going to be talking about shows premiering between September and November. So those 3 months. That 3-month period is kind of what we're covering here. So we're not covering the stuff that happens before that. After we do this, I'll bring up a thing and we'll talk about, what we have coming up this week, which is before the fall schedule kicks in. But for now, we're just going to talk about the fall schedule. So this is our 24th podcast. That means our 25th is coming up soon. It's actually going to be a ways off, though, probably 2 to 3 weeks, somewhere in that range, where we're going to do an Advocates of Great Television. And if all goes well, we should have both Lee and Ed on for this one, so that'll be exciting. But let's start today's podcast with our discussion of the fall TV lineup. So I am your host, Tyson. Joining me today is Will.
Hello.
And Kat.
Hi.
So let's start off here. We got September 4th is the first show we have on this list here. Hand of God on Amazon. Now, this was originally a pilot in 2014 for when Amazon did their pilot. Amazon does their pilot season. So we have a few from their pilot seasons on here, I believe. But Hand of God is one that kind of, I knew about it, but it kind of flew a little bit under my radar as far as my attention on it, but when writing up the preview, I actually kind of got a little bit more interested in it, and I know, I believe Will did too. And this is a series about a corrupt judge who, I believe from the trailer, it seems like his son was murdered, and he kind of starts to, I guess...
Like to kill himself, isn't it? And it looked like because someone was raped. Someone important to him was raped.
I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. I haven't watched the pilot for it. But anyways, he starts to kind of see, feel like he is being guided by God towards some kind of a vigilante justice as a judge. So I mean, he's not getting in a costume and stuff, but he's maybe handling the law in an unethical way as a judge in order to do justice.
Form that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with superheroes.
Yeah. So he's not going to be a judge and like a superhero.
It's become kind of wedded to superheroes recently, so it is kind of cool to see someone going back to just straight vigilantism.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
He's not going to be called the judge wearing like a spandex judge uniform with like holding a scale in one hand as a weapon or something.
Hey, you don't know. That's probably the 3rd episode. You just spoiled it.
It's the origin story. So yeah, that's coming up September 4th. The pilot is available now, so you can go onto Amazon Prime Instant Video, and you can watch that pilot right now.
I am going to go watch that. Yeah, Ron Perlman, excellent actor. I mean, this sounds perfect for like a Ron Perlman role. So that's exciting. It just sounds like it's going to be an exciting show.
Yeah, and this is his first television project, full project. He was on an episode of Blacklist, I believe. But his first kind of full role project since Sons of Anarchy. It's always good to see him working. I'm happy to see Ron Perlman working. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Next up, we have on Friday, September 11th, we have some new shows popping up on Sci-Fi, or not new shows, but we have shows returning on Sci-Fi. There's the final season of Continuum, but we're not going to talk about that, just because I don't think any of us are really interested in that. But then we also have the return of Z Nation, which started out kind of like a Walking Dead, but kind of less serious, and it wasn't all that great actually when I started watching it. And I hung around watching it and ended up actually really enjoying it as it went on, just because it started differentiating itself more and more from like the serious tone in The Walking Dead, and it started getting more and more into like the idea of, you know, there's radioactive zombies and this like nuclear power plant that's melting down, and then there's you know, this giant tornado coming through, and it's caught up a bunch of zombies in it. So now you have a, you know, a Sharknado with zombies, basically, kind of scenario.
And you got zombies with wings. Collect them all.
Yeah. So they're having fun with it, which is what's kind of cool, and you know, the cast is kind of becoming more and more endearing as you watch more of it. So yeah, it's just kind of a fun zombie series. So I should have some impressions up of season 2 of Z Nation soon, because we actually got a screener for that. If you are into shows like The Walking Dead, but you want one that kind of doesn't take itself too seriously, Z Nation, that's your bag. That's exactly what it is. And that's really all I can say about that. I mean, coming up on Tuesday, September 15th on FX, we have Kurt Sutter's new series. He was the showrunner for Sons of Anarchy. He's going to be doing a new series called The Bastard Executioner, which stars Stephen Moyer from True Blood, and also Katie Seagal from, you know, Married to Children and Sons of Anarchy. She's actually Kurt Sutter's wife, so I think you're just going to see her in anything he does, pretty much. But yeah, this is kind of a bit of a departure from, you know, this biker drama, and now we have this medieval England set story about an executioner.
Yeah.
A former knight who has to take up the sword again as an executioner. So we got, you know, period vibe here. Of course, that's gonna kind of. There's a lot of shows that have been kind of going with that medieval kind of aesthetic to it recently. Thanks largely probably to Game of Thrones.
I think I'm down for a more gritty medieval show. That kind of like
non-fantasy, just
non-fantasy, gritty. It does away with all the romanticism that goes with doing like a period piece, like that people try to like inject in it. And this looks like it could be really cool.
Yeah, that's Kurt Sutter. He's definitely a very gritty writer, so expect a lot of kind of shocking deaths and stuff, because that's kind of one of the things he's known for. So it's going to be a violent medieval series for FX. Kat, I can't imagine this is really your in your wheelhouse.
The main character is appropriately badass and morally conflicted.
It sounds a little bit too standard to me these days. He's probably something of an anti-hero, right?
Probably.
A haunted hero, I believe. It's going to be a haunted by his what he has to do, I imagine.
By his past?
Well, I think the setup is that he was a knight and he basically gave up war. Like, he didn't want to fight anymore. He was just done with it. And he's basically has to take up the sword as an executioner. He's like ordered. He just has no choice in the matter. And it's now, so basically he's somebody that's basically become a pacifist, and now he has to cut off people's heads. So I think that's it's going to be an interesting, conflict for him to go through, to watch. But yeah, it's again, not going to be necessarily for everyone. I could tell right off the bat looking at this, I'm like, this is not going to be this is not going to be a cat show. So moving on again, we got Wednesday, September 16th. We have South Park coming back. I don't have a lot to say about South Park coming back, except that, they stay incredibly current with South Park. So they make those episodes the week they air, basically.
Right.
They come out insanely fast. They became kind of famous for that when they did the episode about, Obama becoming president, and they did that with like parts from his speech and everything the day after he was elected. That's how they were able to just say so insanely timely.
There is no shortage of material for them right now. I mean, Donald Trump alone could fuel an entire season of South Park. right now.
And of course, you have like the police brutality situation going on across the country.
You know, you have
There's a lot. There's a lot of material. So it'll be interesting to kind of see where they go with that. Sometimes you think like, oh, this has been a real political time. South Park's gonna come in and nail that, and then they come in with a season that's just fart jokes. So you almost know that they do that like just to subvert expectations, you know. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about South Park coming back. We really have no idea. There's no like trailer of what's going on, no information about what episodes are coming. This is just, I don't even think Matt and Trey know for sure what they're going to be doing until right before they put out the episode. But what's more interesting to talk about is this new series that they're pairing up with South Park called Moonbeam City. This is kind of like a Miami Vice inspired, very like 80s nostalgia, just like the neon colors and look of it. Comedy, kind of seems maybe in the vein of like an Archer. The way Archer is like about a spy thing, but it's more just like the stupid interactions of the characters rather than their actual job. This kind of seems to be the new way to do animated comedies now, right? You have this kind of very elaborate setup, like, you know, there's a special force of cops or something, but then it ends up just being them talking about, like, going to the grocery store and not knowing what to buy or something.
Right.
I think it visually looks really kind of interesting, and, you know, they really are going for that 80s kind of nostalgia vibe, and as a child of the 80s, that's something I kind of appreciate, so. Kat hasn't really been excited about much coming up, but now we have one that she will be excited about. This is something that Will hasn't gotten into yet, so we need to kind of get him in. Maybe that's our next project. Get Will into Doctor Who now that he's got a fun
Do we need to do Doctor Who for advocates of great television?
Okay. All right.
Maybe we'll do a Doctor Who show club.
Doctor Who, but what doctor?
Well, there's multiple doctors to love. I'd say start with the modern Who and go from there.
Okay.
I'd say you could even start just by watching a few of the kind of key episodes, the kind of more standalone, like, but well-loved episodes, and just see if those do anything for you, you know? If they don't do anything for you, the better episodes, like, say, like Blink, or, you know, that one Christmas one, it was like the, God, what was it? It was like the Christmas Carol, but they did it with Matt Smith's doctor. So those are some of the better, like, kind of standalone episodes, and if those don't do anything for you, then it's probably none of them will. It just is not going to work for you.
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time understanding this being able to get into Doctor Who thing. That makes absolutely no sense. Especially for
some people,
I'm
kind of surprised.
Fan of genre television, I just think they're pretty good that if given the time, you could very much like it. I'm trying hard not to.
I agree.
All right.
Anyway.
Will feels a fire under his ass right now.
Doctor Who is coming back for its 9th season, which I'm very happy about because I really like 12 and I really like Clara.
Yeah, and we get to see Maisie Williams from Game of Thrones is in this season.
Oh, yeah.
So, for those who don't know, that's Arya Stark in Game of Thrones. She's kind of in a mystery role. We haven't heard too much. I think we've heard a little bit more now. I haven't really kind of kept up too much. I kind of just want to watch it.
She's just going to play Arya Stark in this.
Yeah. She's going to have a list of people she wants to kill.
The doctor is going to travel to Westeros, and it's going to be a big crossover.
That is one line I never want Doctor Who to cross, is I don't want him mating fictional characters. I think that's going to violate some rules, and I just don't want them going there.
You don't want George R. Martin involved in Doctor Who?
No, it's bad enough there are people pushing for a Sherlock Doctor Who crossover, which I think is such a terrible idea.
But yeah, Doctor Who, September 19th, BBC America. Check it out. All of our Whovians are probably jumping up and down right now just thinking about it. So we'll move on from that because we kind of covered, I think, what we're going to talk about with that. But I'm excited. I kind of just want it. Like, I'm at the point where I just don't want to hear anything else about it. I just want the show in front of my eyeballs. I just want to watch it.
Right in front of my eyeballs.
Yeah, right in front, just like right there, so I can't even see it.
Just broadcast it into my brain.
Yeah, just put Capaldi's eyebrows on my eyeballs. That's what I want.
Well, this just got weird. Okay.
So we got 3 shows starting up the next Monday after Doctor Who premieres on September 21st. We have Blind Spot coming to NBC. This is kind of a little interesting to me. It has this kind of weird vibe because it's like, I'm like, oh, she's got tattoos all over her, so it's kind of like Prison Break. And oh, she doesn't know who she is, and she has like some kind of weird key to everything that's going on. So it's kind of like John Doe, who was oddly enough starred the older brother Lincoln from Prison Break. So I'm like, man, she must really be a fan of this actor. Somebody involved in the show is really a fan of Dominic Purcell. So.
It just sounds so boring to me.
It's something I'm going to check it out. I like Jamie Alexander, so I'm going to give her a shot and check it out.
I like Jamie Alexander too. I think she's a great actress. I mean, so that's not the problem. I mean, the problem is just like the premise just seems like they were stretching to find something that they could turn into like this procedural every week type thing.
Oh, I hear you. This is networkitis. A lot of the network shows starting up, including another one that's coming on today, suffer from some serious networkitis issues.
It's like you'll have an episode where something goes on, and conveniently, like, one of her tattoos will, like, be, like, the answer, like, will be, like, pointing to, like, whatever the heck's happening, and no matter what random thing it is, because that's the way they have it set up. And it's like...
Yeah, it's formulaic. It's got a real kind of structured thing. That's not necessarily bad, though. That can be fun. I'm not expecting a great show out of Blind Spot, but I'm hoping for a fun show, you know?
Yeah,
I'm hoping it's going to be kind of fun, adventurous, puzzles that are just enough to keep you engaged, kind of a turn off your brain and just sit back and enjoy kind of show.
Sure.
So we got a few coming up this season on network TV. I think that seems to be, of the network TV shows that are new that are starting up, those seem to be the only ones that interest me at all, are the ones that are kind of going for that more fun.
Right.
Because at least, like, I'm not expecting any of these to be great, you know, any of the network ones this fall, but at least that should be fun. Hopefully. That isn't always the case, though, and that brings us to a season 2 of Gotham. Which wasn't very fun for me.
Wasn't very fun. Are you having fun yet?
Rise of the Villains is the tagline they're using for season 3, as if they didn't have enough villains already.
I know, right?
I feel like everybody in Gotham is a villain.
Rise of the Villains, yet still no Batman.
It's Rise of the Villains from a pool of villains.
Yeah.
It's just villains climbing over villains.
Maybe the show would be better off if they just went off in their own little alternate universe where Batman will never be. And then they can just kind of like free themselves from the constraints.
Yeah, just kill Bruce Wayne off.
Just do their own thing. No, like, I'm being serious, because I think, like, it's kind of being hurt by the expectation of where everything is going to end up in 20 years. But I think it could free itself from some of those shackles, then that would give it a bit more creative freedom.
Right.
Yeah,
definitely.
I agree with you on that, except that I don't think there's any saving Gotham. Even if they did that, I don't think it would save it.
Well, I'm not overly. I mean, I'm done with the show. I watched all the first season, and I have no inclination to watch second season. So I'm.
So the show never came close to redeeming itself, even a little bit, towards the end of the first season.
It would take too long. It would take a long time to try to list off the show's many difficulties. In some ways, I liked its ambitions, but in other ways, I was just like, this has way too many characters, and it just can't seem to nail down its tone. And it just, and it does terrible with its women. And there's just so many absurdities, and they just are randomly dropping in. And here's Harvey Dent. Remember how much you love Harvey Dent? Not from the show, but from other things. Like,
It's a very weird portrayal of Harvey Dent too. I'm like, wow, they just did not give him any care at all. He just kind of came in suddenly, was very kind of uninteresting, very non-Harvey Dent-esque, and then like didn't really serve a choice, and then just disappeared again. Yeah.
So when are we
Kind
gonna
of the
get
weirdest portrayal of him.
when are we gonna get the Gotham version of Condiment King?
Well, we had the Balloon Man already in Gotham, so
Right.
anything goes, I guess. The rate they're trying to burn through villains, I mean, shit.
Mad Hatter.
So Fox is pairing up Gotham with another real winner.
Another real winner.
Fans of the Steven Spielberg movie Minority Report will be distressed to know that there's a sequel TV series that looks to be about as formulaic as humanly possible.
This show appears, I think it annoys me for the exact same reason 12 Monkeys annoys me, which is they create a TV series that basically steps on the entire premise of the film. That, like, the point of the film wasn't to be about solving murders, it was to question, like, at what point we can punish people for, like, thinking about killing others, Like, there was a lot more moral complexities at play. Turning it into a generic procedural,
generic procedural that betrays the entire message of the film.
Well, think about how many shows sprung out of like an interesting concept. I'm not saying this in a good way. I mean, this season, what the shows we have coming up this fall and after this fall that have sprung up out of an interesting concept, like Minority Report, like Lucifer, for example, like the Frankenstein whatever one. All of them have this exact same like structure to them. They're all like about a guy who's kind of interesting in some way or another that ties into a deeper mythology, who gets teamed up with a hot female police officer so they have a will they won't they relationship to solve crimes. Now, of course, sometimes it can kind of make sense, maybe. Sometimes not. I mean, like Lucifer, that just does not make sense at all.
No, especially
completely
like it's an adaptation from source material that is nothing like that.
Yeah, it's just really disheartening to see that they're like, you get kind of excited. They're like, oh, they're thinking bigger, Even if you don't like the idea that Minority Report would be adapted, there's something to be kind of excited about. Just the idea that they're thinking big, instead of like generic police procedural number 28. The problem is that they're turning this big idea into police procedural number 28.
Yeah, like
Let's take
Report
this.
is really interesting sci-fi complexity. It should be about big ideas. And how cool would it be if they found a way to expand on that instead of turning it into a generic procedure?
So I love it. So like the whole point of like Minority Report was, they were stopping crimes before they happened, and the question was, is that really right? Is that really moral? Should we like be the thought police? And basically, and that was the big question. And then this.
Well, they went into other territory with the movie as well, which I got to also find out that the movie was based on a Philip K. Dick story as well. So
right, like they're stepping on Philip K. Dick classic science fiction as well.
Yeah.
So the premise was, is it right to stop crimes before they happen, or to like basically be the thought police? And then this trailer for the show comes out, and it's like they decided as a society, no, it's not all right. We'll go back to doing things the old way. But then you've got a guy, he's like, he gets a prediction. He's like, no, we have to go back and stop things
I have to
before
be
they
free
happen.
from people that would try to oppress me, but I'm going to use my power in the exact same way it was used before.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
it's like-
with no contemplation of the consequences there.
Right.
Yeah.
Wandering there. it's completely absurd, and this is what drove me nuts about 12 Monkeys and why I would never watch the show, is the whole point of the movie was you can't change the past, and the TV show is about trying to change the past. It infuriates me.
And this infuriates me.
12 Monkeys I've actually watched and enjoyed, and it is still playing with the idea that you can't change the past. Like, it's almost like they're tilting at windmills.
Okay.
It's almost like that Don Quixote-esque, like, they're trying to do it, and every step of the way as they try to do something, and it seems like they might have changed something, in actuality, instead of changing something, they're, like, becoming part of this thing that already happened. Yeah, they're closing the loop.
And as far
So,
as
12 Monkeys is a little bit better than that. I gotta give them credit for that. I don't have that hope for Minority Report.
And as far as Lucifer goes, it was like, let's take this awesome philosophical comic book, you know, about the nature of Satan and free will and what is free will, and let's make it the most generic police procedural ever.
Just no good. Let's move on from September 21st and all its horrors.
It's just making me mad at this point. September 21st.
We go into Tuesday, September 22nd, and we got a few shows that we're not really going to talk about that are starting back up. Fresh Off the Boat is a show. It's actually pretty good. Just there's nothing to talk about with it. It's just a comedy. It's a family sitcom. There's nothing interesting to talk about, you know? We got The Muppets coming up. That looks kind of interesting, but kind of everything to say about that we've already kind of said in a previous podcast we did when the trailers were released for this. It's the concept's interesting, and that's pretty much all we know. There's no real new information.
No.
We have Scream Queens on Fox, which looks like it's kind of supposed to be kind of on the funny side. It's done by Ryan Murphy, who did American Horror Story. That's a series that started strong and then got worse and worse and worse. Right. So, maybe Scream Queens will have a really good first season. But the show that we're going to talk about for Tuesday is Limitless, which is coming to CBS. Now, have either of you seen the movie Limitless?
No.
Okay, this is a movie that when I watched it, it's one of those, you'll see those every so often. You'll watch a movie, you'll sit down and go like, I don't really have any expectations or hopes for this, but it looks like it'll be okay, I guess, to pass the time. And you watch it and you end up kind of impressed. It's not necessarily that it's a great movie, but it's just like, wow, this is a lot better than I thought it was going to be. And that's what Limitless was like to me. So I actually kind of have hopes for Limitless. Bradley Cooper is deeply involved in this project. He's going to be reprising his role, even though he's not the central character. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's a cool idea of tying it to the movie.
That is cool. I was impressed by that because I totally was not expecting that for Bradley Cooper to even be in the show or to even be acknowledged. Normally when they do these things, it's like not such a direct spin-off from the film, So it's cool that this is actually, this is linked to the film in, an actual tangible way, and it's not just like an adaptation of the film or something.
But that they're expanding the universe. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's one of those concepts that's always kind of fun to watch in films. The idea of, he takes this pill and then all of a sudden he's like super smart. And those are always kind of like fun things to explore. Not necessarily great TV, but fun TV. The idea that, you have this person that's now becoming a much greater person than he was before, and what that means. What that means to his current life, the people in his life, to himself, how he sees himself now versus before, how he looks at his past self now that he's on this. And because it's this thing that it's a limited effect that he has to keep taking a pill, there's a lot of different territory you can go in with the episodic structure. I mean, you can borrow elements from junkie storylines, and there's so many different things you can tap into that. So Yeah, the fact that Bradley Cooper is interested, I think, is the thing that has people excited about this show. I think it would be kind of a lukewarm reaction if he wasn't involved, but him putting his reputation on the line in connection to it.
I gotta tell you, it definitely looks like one of the better fall shows on the networks this season.
Oh yeah, I agree. And so let's see what else we have coming up here. September 24th on Thursday, Heroes Reborn. Will and I just talked about that earlier this week, where, I think we were both kind of agreeing that the more we see of Heroes Reborn, the more we're reminded of all of the things that agitated us about Heroes.
Right. It's like I want them to come back, and I want this to be great again. Of course, I've had like the exact same thought when like every new season of Heroes came out. I'm like, please be season 1 again. And it's not. And so I was kind of hoping, like, maybe after a hiatus, maybe after they've had time to regroup and get together and put this out.
You sound like a battered housewife, Will.
Yeah.
Heroes will change, I tell you. It'll change.
It'll change.
You just don't know the real heroes like I do.
You don't know. You weren't there when Heroes was in season 1.
You don't know. He has a deep soul.
That's a deep soul. But the more that comes out about this, the more it's looking less and less likely that this is even going to be close to what season 1 was, and it's just depressing.
So, Kat, what do you think about Heroes Reborn? Where's your stance on it right now?
Well, I've only watched a couple trailers, so I'm like, at this point, eventually I'll probably give it a shot, if only because I watched the first 3 seasons of the original series and I'm curious. I'm not like hopping up and down with excitement for it. At the same time, I thought season 1 was, I get that everyone else loves season 1, that's totally cool. I thought it was fine. I definitely thought it was stronger than the other 2 seasons. I didn't really think, I don't know, I found most of the characters kind of boring from the start, so I'm like mildly interested, but I'm not jumping up and down with excitement.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is, like, I think Heroes has that kind of nostalgia factor where people look back at it as better than it actually was, and that's the thing about watching some of these new trailers is I'm seeing things, even like season 1-esque things, even just like the musical cues and the score, and they annoy me. And I remember how much they annoy me, and I'd forgotten how much they annoy me. So, like, thinking about it before, like, oh yeah, Heroes come back, that'd be kind of cool. And then I start seeing all these parts that annoyed me so much. Also, like the moral ambiguity of the characters when it's not necessary for the character to be morally ambiguous. Like, I'm all for moral ambiguity, but when it's like forced, it's horrible.
Sure.
It just feels like mystery for the sake of mystery versus something interesting at the other end.
Sure.
Also something that annoys me is like when this series starts, Claire is dead. When the whole premise of the first season was save the cheerleader, save the world. So if she dies anyway, does the world end? I mean, what was the point?
There's no logic to that show anymore. There's so many things that show's done that defy logic. So.
Yeah, I remember in first season, okay, it's been a few years, but my recollection was in first season, like the whole save the cheerleader, save the world was their through line. And then they had this interesting jump forward in time episode where they inadvertently, completely without realizing, demonstrated that it didn't matter whether or not they saved the cheerleader, but they didn't acknowledge that. And then they went back and just continued on with the through line anyway. That was when the show really started to confuse me.
That's the thing. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I just have no faith in Tim Kring as a storyteller.
And also, I just have a sneaking suspicion the only reason Claire is dead in the series is because they couldn't get Hayden Panettiere to come back to do it. And I think that is like literally the only reason her character is dead.
Yeah. On that same day, on September 24th, we have a new series. Speaking of kind of like fun but probably not great ideas, we have The Player, which is coming also to NBC. This is going to be starring Wesley Snipes and one of the actors from Strike Back, which is currently on its final season on Cinemax. This looks like it's kind of a throwback to kind of 80s action type stuff, you know, like
This definitely does.
Knight Rider-esque, you know.
Yeah,
So it looks like it's
Knight
going to be a lot of
Rider.
fun, and yeah, I think Will and I talked about it earlier, and he had referred to it as, you know, Wesley Snipes is going to be chewing up the scenery like crazy. I think that's definitely an exciting prospect of the series. I think this is going to be just kind of a fun action series. I'm hoping it doesn't try to take itself too seriously.
Oh God!
I'm hoping it stays
It
in that kind of
It can't try to be a drama because it will fall flat on its face the second it tries.
The less it tries to establish a strong through line, the less it tries to have a strong mythology, the less it tries to make sense of what's going on, the better the show is going.
Yeah, that's what I think.
So hopefully it stays true to that, you know?
It just has
Hopefully
to be,
it doesn't try to think like, we can be lost or something, you know?
It just
Because
has, yeah, I know, we
it's
could
just
be
not gonna
lost.
work.
We could have this deep mythology. No, you can't. Not everybody can.
I believe it was at Damon Lindelof one time and J.J. Abrams, when they were talking about Lost, they referred to what they called like the metachlorian dilemma or something, which is the idea that, like, you know, Star Wars ruined the Force by introducing metachlorian because you had this kind of like, hey, it's this kind of cool, mysterious element, and it didn't need explaining.
Right.
And then they explained it anyways, and that ruined it, you know? And I feel like The Player is going to be in that range where there's going to be a lot of stuff that's just kind of weird. Like, why are these people gambling? How is this structure existing? And I hope they do not try to answer any of it.
Well,
The further they stray from answering any of those questions, the better this show could be.
It's like The Walking Dead. Robert Kirkman gave the showrunners several mandates. One of the mandates is never explain what the cause of the zombie apocalypse is. So they're actually never going to explain what caused the zombie apocalypse in that show because they don't want to, because that's not what the show is about. And, you know, I think that's a good thing.
I would think that was a good thing if they had never dangled it. Like, don't they meet some people in Fortune who are like, we know the cause of the disease?
Oh, I know.
It's like,
no.
okay, well, then if you're not going to...
They have
go to
teased
this-
that in The Walking Dead, where they've like implied that there's going to be some knowledge, and then there isn't.
Right, yeah.
That's really obnoxious.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm hoping The Player doesn't even try to imply it. I'm hoping it's just straight like, you know, what am I tackling this week, boss? Well, this week you have like a clown that rides motorcycles and murders prostitutes. You know, it's like I'm just hoping it's like that it's just ridiculous and it's fun and it's over the top and that's all it is and it doesn't try to be more. But yeah, do you guys have any thoughts on The Player?
Again, not my thing.
Yeah, I knew Kat wasn't really into motorcycle riding clowns who murder prostitutes. Just...
I don't know how you were able to guess that.
It's in your autobiography.
Okay, that's just creepy.
There is a line in your autobiography that says, "I never once enjoyed a show about."
Yeah.
Let's move on from The Player then. September 27th on Sunday. Wow, lots of shows coming back, including like Fox's entire Sunday night lineup, which starts at like 7:30 and goes till 10. You know. But what we're going to be talking about, we're only going to be talking about one show from Fox on this because, you know, it's like I said with, you know, stuff like Blackish or Fresh Off the Boat or Modern Family. There's just not much. We know what they are. There's not much to talk about, you know. They're coming back. Wow, that's it.
Wow, Simpsons is still on TV.
And that's all it is. I mean, there's nothing to talk about.
Yeah.
But we have a few things that we do want to talk about that are coming back on that night as well. First up, Kat, you wanted to talk about Quantico and Once Upon a Time.
Yeah. Well, I think I don't know. Like, I think Quantico appeals to me in the way that, to me, it has the same vibe as like Alias and Grey's Anatomy. Just like, you know, crazy hot people and just ridiculous relationship drama mixed in with.
I think you just perfectly explained.
Out of this world situations.
I think you just perfectly explained why I hated Quantico so much and why I hated that trailer. It's like, I watched that, and I immediately had such a strong hate for this show.
That's fair. I mean, for all I know, I'll watch it and go, you know. But I mean, I think if it could appropriately get itself, because if it can have the right Alias vibe, because I was a fan of Alias back in the day, then it could be a lot of fun. But to me, that's what it feels like a mix of, and I enjoyed both Alias and Grey's Anatomy in their time.
See, the thing is, like, I watched it and I felt like it has a good premise, but then they ruin that premise by slathering on all this ridiculous melodrama. Like, they made it like way more Days of Our Lives than it needs to be.
But I think that soapy element could be what makes it fun.
Right.
I think if it's handled right.
Are you expecting this to be like a guilty pleasure more, or are you expecting this to be, you know, because Alias isn't so much of a guilty pleasure as a, you know, as a pretty beloved show. So are you expecting kind of an Alias-esque vibe, but more of a guilty pleasure?
Oh, I thought like
of a guilty pleasure and sometimes legitimately had quality.
The way I took that, Tyson, was she was saying Alias as part of like the premise, like she's in the CIA program, and it's like kind of this spy drama. But then she said mixed with Grey's Anatomy, which is like this huge, which Grey's Anatomy is this huge melodrama about doctors. And it's so it's a melodrama about a CIA agent in training or something.
So you're expecting a lot of slow acoustic guitar pop tracks.
That's possible. And then people undressing down to their underwear? Oh, no, wait. That would only be if J.J. Abrams was involved.
Oh, yeah.
No, see, it's ABC, so they'll get undressed to their underwear, and then they'll be wearing, like, Mickey Mouse underwear or something.
Or Star Wars panties.
Yeah. Star Wars underoos.
Underoos. Oh, God.
So also coming to ABC, this seems like an odd pairing with Quantico, but if it's what Kat's expecting, then maybe it's actually a good pairing. Maybe it actually kind of matches tonally. Once Upon a Time. Now, Will wasn't sure he wanted to talk about this because he was concerned about spoilers with you. Where are you on Once Upon a Time?
I think I'm pretty well spoiled on the show at this point, so talk away.
Okay. So basically, this is the 5th season, and we are going to get Dark Swan, or we're going to get evil version of Emma, I guess.
Which I think looks like a ton of fun. I'm really looking forward to this storyline.
Oh, yeah, this is definitely going to be a ton of fun. Hopefully they stick with it for at least half the season. I mean, I want it to be like one of those situations where they cure her 3 episodes into the season.
Oh, that would be such a waste of the plot line. I don't see them doing that.
I don't see them doing that either. I'm really looking forward to this because I don't think we've seen this actress play bad on the show before.
Nope. And the evil characters tend to be the most entertaining, almost without exception.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
Rumpelstiltskin, the Evil Queen, the Wicked Witch, Peter Pan are all some of the most entertaining characters in the whole.
You know what? Now you listed them off like that. You are right. They were like the most entertaining characters on the show.
So I think the evil Emma is going to be a blast. I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh, that is going to be a huge blast, yeah. They're also bringing in Meridian from Brave this season, they announced. So that's going to be the first big representation of a Pixar property.
And she should have a Scottish accent, so.
Yeah. Yeah, well, she's Scottish. I hope she does. She's gonna have a southern accent.
Yeah.
I guess
Ireland?
No.
I guess that's all there is to say about that, though. There's not much more to say except for that's what's going to be happening.
That's what we know at present.
I'm excited.
Okay, so next up on the same day, on September 27th, when there's like 10 other shows premiering, The Last Man on Earth is one of the shows in the Fox lineup. This is something I actually really liked last season. It kind of always teetered on that edge of like, is this character irredeemable? Is this character just such a scumbag that I just can't enjoy watching him anymore? Or is it like gonna throw in a new twist that's gonna make me stay interested? And it's always managed to like keep you kind of going like, God, this guy's such a scumbag, but still watch it, which is kind of amazing. And every so often he'll have like a little sweet moment. You're like, oh, I guess he's not so bad. I'll watch some more. And oh yeah, I guess this is funny. So. And then he just does something, and you're like, "Oh, what a scumbag!"
You see, but I love comedies about total scumbags. I mean, I love It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I love Seinfeld. You know, so
he's a sympathetic scumbag though, because like you could tell how hurt he was by being alone for all that time and the effect that it had on him, and that he probably wasn't necessarily like this before, but that like he has this like desperation now, that now that has other people in his life, he has this desperation, and it's just he's changed because of what's happened to him. So yeah, it's a pretty good show actually. I think the last season kind of ended on this weird kind of shocking, seeming like almost like a one-off moment that wasn't going to be addressed again. I won't say anything in case you guys watch it, but it's now been implied that is going to be continued on, which is kind of crazy. It's hard for me to talk about without spoiling it, but yeah, I'm kind of excited to see how they're going to handle what they did with the little twist they put at the end of the first season.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And that's pretty much all I have to say about that, so let's move on. Here's something that we're all excited about, I believe. Will joining us finally in excitement for this show after being caught up. Tuesday, September 29th, Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm just hoping we don't get the Dark Simmons.
I'm far more excited about the show than I was this time last year. So.
Oh, there's been some news. There's been some news about that too. They just announced a new character for next season in S.H.I.E.L.D. It's actually a character from the current Inhuman comic books.
Oh, that's right.
Yep. And
so then this character has some weird power, like every time he blinks, like
well, no, he
a
has
hen
like
lays an egg or something.
Okay, yeah, it's he's an Inhuman. His name is Lash, and he's kind of an interesting character because he considers himself judge, jury, and executioner of any new Inhumans he finds who's gone through Terrigenesis. Basically, he takes it upon himself to decide if they were worthy of going through Terrigenesis in the first place, and if he decides they weren't worthy, he kills them. And basically his Inhuman ability is he could channel energy, siphon energy, and then turn it into any other form of energy inside of him, and then release it. And that usually manifests in him using his energy powers to disintegrate people.
So it kind of makes me think of what's his name on in X-Men First Class.
Yeah,
Kevin Bacon's character.
Oh, Sebastian Shaw.
Yeah, it does sound similar to Sebastian Shaw now that I think about it.
Okay, well, do we have anything else to say about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
I feel like we've talked about it a lot, so I mean, I really like the show. I'm looking forward to it, but I don't feel like I'll have more to say once it actually.
I am hugely interested to see how Captain America: Civil War is going to affect this upcoming season, if at all. It would seem like
I feel it definitely will.
I think it definitely will.
In the same way that Winter
Second
Soldier
chapter.
did.
Yeah, Winter Soldier did. See, Shield to me seems like it's more influenced by the Captain America films than like anything else.
Oh yeah, sure,
like,
because that's the movies with Shield in them.
yeah, that's the movies with Shield in them. It's like for the Avengers, you know, they have like a few lines like referencing that movie, like especially Age of Ultron, where they just like had like a few lines of dialogue just referencing it because it didn't really have like any effect on what was going on in the show. So, but it was kind of cool. Like it was kind of cool. Like though how they like tied that in because they had like the running thing towards the back half of that season was Agent Coulson having like this secret project. And like May was like getting like really suspicious about it. She was like, "What is this? You know, what's he been doing behind our backs?" And oh, he's been setting it up to have the Avengers go and take out the remains of Hydra in Eastern Europe, which you see at the beginning of the second Avengers movie. And so I thought that was like cool the way that they did that.
Oh yeah.
But that was the only tie-in to that film.
Well, it sounds like I mean, we're excited about how it ties to the MCU and interested to see how that's going to progress, especially with something like Civil War, where it's going to be war between groups. I mean, we've had kind of Civil War-esque Shield elements going on in this last season already, which feels like it could be kind of a setup.
And also, it seems like we're at a perfect opportunity to have the stakes raised because now we got the Inhumans introduced, and they're going to be a threat. And it looks like Coulson is going to counter that threat by putting together his own team of superpowered agents, starting with Quake Girl,
Sky, Daisy.
Yeah, starting with Sky, and you know,
Sky Daisy, the daisy that grows in the sky.
Sky Daisy, Quake Girl, and whoever else after her, maybe Deathlock. I don't know, but that's gonna be exciting too. So
yeah,
and I don't know. That's gonna have an effect on the special effects budget, but
no, because you'll just have them talk, and then the action will be off screen.
yeah, like here.
Okay, like, did you see that crazy move I did?
Oh, yeah. You mean like in Heroes when we finally got like when they like teased like Peter and Sylar fighting. And then they just show like a bunch of lights happening, like just show a bunch of flashing lights with the actual fight happening off screen. I was like mad about that.
Better well. So let's move into October now. So one of my favorite months of the year because it contains Halloween. We have
awesome.
A lot of the shows that we're kind of more into are coming back. The Arrowverse shows and other stuff. A lot of the horror type shows coming in October. First up on October 1st, Sleepy Hollow. Now, Kat, did you continue to watch season 2 or did you stop like I did?
I don't really care that much.
Well, I wanted to talk about it just for one thing.
Okay.
And that's that they're doing a crossover with Bones this season.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read that. I was like, what? Okay, Bones had nothing supernatural in it.
And this is not like a hallucination like the Family Guy crossover they had that one time where he was like hallucinating Stewie Griffin. This is like a full-on legit crossover.
The only supernatural stuff like they ever did with Bones was they did an episode where like Booth may or may not have been helped out by a ghost. And then they did another episode that was literally about a ghost, like told from the perspective of like this dead person, as he like watched them investigate his murder. Those are like the only two instances I could think of where they even went like near that kind of realm. And even then,
and there's going to be so much will they won't they tension on screen with two will they won't they powers and one.
See, the way it opens is like Bones finds the Headless Horseman's head. And then I don't know. That's just
I just wanted to snark a little bit about that because it's just wow, really? Sleepy Hollow Bones crossover, really?
Yeah, I know. It's completely ridiculous.
I know
So,
Fox is just using like the more popular show to try and boost the ratings of Sleepy Hollow. I was like, yeah.
Sunday, October 4th, we got some shows coming back to the cable networks. The Affair and Homeland coming back to Showtime. But the one I wanted to talk about was The Leftovers coming back to HBO. And I just want to talk about this briefly just because I think it's interesting. Season 2 takes place in a new town with most of the cast just gone because, not the whole town didn't move together. Only a few people from this town moved, and this one family. And so it's interesting that they're kind of taking this in a different direction. And I believe The Leftovers, because it was based on a book, the first season, I think, pretty much covered most of the content from the book, or all of it. They kind of handled it a little bit differently. They took things in a little bit of a different direction from what I've heard. But they're just completely off different material, completely went to a different town, just kind of got rid of most of the supporting cast, just completely changed it. And I think that's kind of fascinating. Too often you have shows where it's like they should be kind of peeling off some of the extra cast over time, like True Blood should have done that but didn't. It's interesting to see a show that just basically fired half of its staff, went to a completely different setting. And yeah, I'm interested in it. Leftovers ended up actually being a pretty good show. It was slow burn, took a while to build up, and then got pretty good by the end. And I'm interested to see where Lindelof is going to take a second season with very little reference material to work from this time.
Right.
Let's get on to something that we all watched, though. So Tuesday, October 16th, we got the first of the Arrowverse shows coming back, as well as iZombie. So we got, the CW lineup starts kicking in October.
Uh-huh. Yeah, all CW shows look like they come back October.
It's CW-tober. So The Flash ended up, I remember, with the season finale. You were not too impressed with the season finale, Kat.
No,
You had
I'm
a lot
sorry.
of issues with it.
The time travel is just driving me nuts. the moment that Eddie died and Eobard Thawne disappeared, I was like, how did the whole timeline not just completely unravel? Like, that's exactly what should have happened right there.
Yeah.
I know it's a staple of the comic books. I understand that, but the time travel mechanics and the lack of true consequences drive me nuts.
Yeah. I agree. I think that the finale had a lot of issues. I think in some ways there was a lot of fun stuff in the finale too. But yeah, it definitely had issues. It definitely showed that CW is playing a little fast and loose with the rules,
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, the show is not without its fair share of issues. But what I love about The Flash is the fact that it's so earnest and that it wears its heart on the sleeve and that it goes all out with the fan service. Like, if you are a fan of this character, if you were ever a fan of these comic books, you will love this show, and they will go to great lengths to guarantee that by throwing in as much fan service as possible, which is evident in their promotion for the new season, where they're bringing in all kinds of different characters. They're going to be playing with the time travel some more, probably in cooler ways, because I think they're going to be exploring the idea of alternate realities with the Flash disappearing into the wormhole. I'm hoping that's the case. So, we might get that, which I think is really cool. I mean, reading up on their ideas for season 2, they got a lot of really cool stuff in the works for season 2 that I'm super excited to see. Especially Jay Garrick.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be a lot of speedsters in the Flash this season.
Which I'm actually surprised. I'm surprised that they're introducing the other speedsters all at once. And I said this a lot about the first season too, that they seem to be doing things at a rapid fire pace, almost as if they're afraid that they're going to be canceled the next episode, so they got to jam as much stuff as they can into it. It seems to be what they're doing, because they are not spreading stuff out as much as you'd think they would. I mean, if they're going to do both Jay Garrick and Wally West next season, it's like, whoa. Save some stuff for season 3. What are you doing?
There is something to be said about writing yourself into a corner, though. That was something Vince Gilligan cited for a lot of the success of Breaking Bad, is that they would purposely write themselves into a corner, but then they wouldn't give themselves an out about writing themselves out of the corner.
Right,
like, you would force it, like, okay, well, we wrote ourselves in the corner, now how do we get out of this corner? And that's a big part of what made Breaking Bad so good, and what made the consequences feel so real and so heavy, was that was inherent in storytelling. That, they would do some big dramatic event, they would put themselves in a situation like, well, what's going to happen now? But then they found like a real legitimate way to get out of that situation. It didn't feel like cheated.
Like contrived, like God just helped them out of that situation.
Yeah, no Deus Ex Machina, yeah.
Yeah.
So now iZombie is the next one we have on the schedule to talk about, but instead of that, let's go and talk about Arrow first, and then we'll go back to iZombie, just because Arrow is so intricately connected with The Flash. Arrow is actually starting on Wednesday, October 7th. So what do you guys think about what's going to be going on with Arrow here? I mean, we ended the last season of Arrow with Olicity driving into the sunset.
Honest truth, I've been avoiding any and all spoilers. Arrow is a show that I find that more and more I want to know less and less going into it, so I'm going to be insulating myself as best as I can.
I don't know too much about the next season of Arrow.
There isn't a lot out there.
Except for, he gets a new costume. Apparently this is the season where he becomes the Green Arrow, finally, which they've been building up to since the show began. The show has all been about Oliver's steady and slow evolution into the character of Green Arrow that we know from the comic books today. And apparently this is the season where, if he doesn't fully become that character, at least he adopts the title of Green Arrow and moves ever closer into becoming that character.
More hero than vigilante.
Yeah, more hero than vigilante.
Season 3 left me a little bit cold with Arrow.
Season 3 did. The only other thing, the only other things I know about Season 3 are the introduction of the new villain group, Hive, led by Damien Dark, who was mentioned very heavily.
Referenced in Season 3.
In Season 3. So he's the new big bad for the season. And Constantine.
And then we have a Constantine.
Yeah. We're going to have an episode with Matt Ryan reprising his role as Constantine for Arrow.
He's just going to be like a frozen yogurt salesman in the city. It's all, what's your name, Mr. Frozen Yogurt Salesman? He's going to look directly at the camera and say Constantine. John Constantine. And then it's going to cut away, and that's his appearance.
And then there's going to be the episode where Stardust comes and hits on Felicity, so Arrow has to go wrestle him.
And that will tie into the series? Oh, that would be weird.
You mean Gold Dust, right?
Or Gold Dust, yeah. It's
the wrestler. Like I said, Arrow Season 3 left me a little cold. I'm excited to come back to it. I'm really hoping they address the kind of Olicity disaster they caused through Season 3. And get away from that kind of fan service-y shipping.
I hope when we get back, Olicity is not a thing. I hope the very first part of the episode is Oliver and Felicity getting back to Starling City and saying, you know what? I guess we just aren't right for each other. Let's go back to being friends. And then Felicity says, I would like that. And then we get back to normal.
Oh, Yes, please.
Well, let's shoot back to Tuesday, October 6th. We're time traveling here on the podcast. iZombie's back. Did either of you end up finishing the first season? I know, Kat, you were on right before the finale, and Will hadn't finished it.
Nope, I'm still in limbo, and I have nothing to say about the series that I haven't already.
I can't
really say anything without spoiling. So
I can't finish it because Hulu took down all those episodes. So until it goes up on Netflix, I really have no way of watching the episodes I missed in order to finish it.
Well, I hope one of you watches more, because I want to talk to somebody about it at some point. But it's as soon as the finale
puts it up.
The finale did a few interesting things, and all I'll say is I'm kind of looking forward to seeing kind of side effects or the consequences of some of the things that happen in the finale. Well, then back to October 7th again. Skipping around a little here. Supernatural's coming back. Now, Will, you're up to date on Supernatural, right?
No, I actually didn't finish the last season, but it's okay. I don't care. Spoil me.
I know Kat hasn't watched it in a while, so it's
I don't care if you spoil me on anything.
I'm really hoping this season has more of a big bad type presence. There is like a larger kind of force, but I'm hoping that rather than just remaining a force, that like we get a real clear big bad from that force to kind of become a stronger presence, like a character similar to Lucifer was in season 5.
I kind of liked in the season before last season. They had kind of these dual big bads in the form of one being that demon, that super demon, and the other being that the angel played by the guy from Revenge of the Nerds.
Metatron.
Metatron, yeah. So they had kind of two big bads in that season, one being a demon, the other being an angel, and I thought that was really cool. I thought Metatron had a really badass moment at the end of season 2 where he actually managed to kill Dean, and I thought that was pretty cool. And then they brought him back as a demon, and I think that's about where I left off. I watched first few episodes of the following season where Dean was still a demon and stuff, but then I kind of lost my cable and I kind of lost track of the show from there.
I'm hoping they just get more of a focus. To me, Supernatural, everything after season 5 is one huge epilogue to me.
Right.
But I'm always kind of hoping that they'll get more ambitious. That they'll take another multi-season arc, because this show's going to be going on for quite a few more years.
Right.
They're handling it now.
And I thought they had some great ideas too, the new order they came up with, the people who are studying magic.
Oh, the Men of Letters.
Yeah, the whole Men of Letters thing, which was a totally new addition to mythology, which really worked well and was an interesting new addition to the supernatural mythology, and it made you think that the writers, really weren't out of fresh ideas after all. But I don't think they've explored that to its full potential or did anything with that.
Yeah.
So and it's kind of disappointing in that way, because it was okay guys, you had something cool, can you do something cool with it?
But yeah, I'm interested in seeing where that goes. Supernatural is a show that's almost comfort food for me. I just enjoy it now. I don't expect a lot from it. I think I got my series finale in season 5. Everything else after this is just nice, fun epilogue, fan fiction, whatever.
I feel fan fiction. I feel the same way.
That's what it's like. It's like you're getting these continued adventures, with these characters you like, and that's all there is to it. It doesn't need to be more than that, really. So I'm enjoying it. I hope they get a little bit more ambitious with some of the things. I don't really want them to trample what they did in the first one. I don't want them to try to out ambitious what they did before. I just want them to, maybe try a little bit more, harder, a little bit more of a serialized edge. On some of the stuff, but yeah, overall, it's like I said, it's comfort food for me. I just enjoy it.
I feel the
Go
same
on.
way about Supernatural that you do.
So coming up October 8th, we have Super Mansion. This is the first show on one of our lists from Crackle. As exclusives keep coming in from different things. Now, I don't have a lot to say about Super Mansion. There's two things of interest here. One, this is the team behind Robot Chicken doing the animation. Two, Bryan Cranston doing the voice of one of the characters as an elderly, like, superhero, basically, in a house full of millennial superheroes. So, no idea how this is going to be. It's just going to be kind of a goofy animated comedy kind of thing. But I'm excited to have, Bryan Cranston involved and, the Robot Chicken crew. It's fun. See, Saturday, October 10th, we have a new BBC miniseries, The Last Kingdom. This in my write-up I compared to the new Fire Emblem game that's coming out. Remarkably similar. Like watching all these Nintendo Directs where they talk about the storyline for Fire Emblem, and then reading up and watching the trailers to Last Kingdom, I'm like, wow, this is Fire Emblem.
See, I watched the trailer, and I thought the trailer, at least the one that you posted, it had almost nothing to do with the premise, or it indicated nothing about the premise, and my response was, well, the premise sounds cool. I'm not really sure what the trailer was trying to convey.
It's
So this
a
is
BBC miniseries trailer. They just kind of show you little bits to get you into the atmosphere of the show, I guess.
So this is Fire Emblem without all the waifus.
Yeah, this is the non-waifu edition of Fire Emblem, basically. This is a story. If anybody is familiar with Fire Emblem's Fates, the new Fire Emblem game that's coming out, the game is actually like two games, and there's a decision you make early on that basically decides which game you're playing. Which is that you were raised by this family that kind of had abducted you by this one kingdom, and you end up going to war with the kingdom that is where that's your blood relatives, and you have to make a choice of which side you're going to take. And that's the same kind of situation that the character in The Last Kingdom finds himself in, as somebody that had been abducted by Norsemen, by Vikings. And now he has to decide, is he going to stick with the Viking side, or is he going to rejoin, his Anglo-Saxon bloodline and his tribe and fight on their side? And so that's going to be the struggle that the character's going through in this miniseries. I mean, sounds kind of interesting. It's a mini-series, so it's low commitment.
So there'll be two versions of the series then.
No, no, there won't be two ones. It'll probably be like a 3-episode series of its
Right.
But yeah, it's low commitment. Our medieval kind of series, Anglo-Saxon period, kind of not that heavily explored. It's kind of interesting time because there is no like King of England during the Anglo-Saxon period. That's just all these separate tribes and different kings and territories. So yeah, it's kind of interesting time to cover. And the next day, though, Sunday, October 11th, marks a big return, The Walking Dead. Will, are you going to be caught up for The Walking Dead?
Yeah, by October 11th. Yeah, I think I'll be caught up.
And Kat, you stopped on The Walking Dead, right?
Yeah, I watched the 6th season trailer and went, yeah, I think I'm done with this series, and that's good. Rick
The Walking Dead is
crazy,
one of those
and
just
now
eventually
Rick is
have to
even
play.
more crazy, and
You're not ready for more Carl.
it's nowhere
Well, The Walking
near
Dead
as
is
bad
never going
as,
to end.
It's nowhere near as bad as Michael running around on Lost yelling, "Whoa!
Whoa!
Yeah, I know.
Whoa! Whoa! I still watch The Walking Dead. I just don't.
It hasn't gotten to that point yet, at least for me, where it's like it's become something that I don't want to watch. I still want to watch it. I'm still invested in these characters. I'm still invested in what they're going through, especially Rick and Daryl, and
I'm telling you, I'm probably mostly continuing to watch now because Morgan's back with the group. I love Lenny James, so excited to see
Yeah,
him
right.
back with the group. And so yeah, that's my main interest for this new season of The Walking Dead, which means he'll probably be dead in the first episode or so.
Apparently they might be introducing like a new fan favorite villain in the season.
Yeah,
Uh,
I've heard about that.
Nurgle, I think it is.
Can't remember who it is, but I know it's a character that has a connection with Carl. He ends up becoming almost like this dark surrogate father figure for Carl.
Oh, okay. Apparently the character is Negan.
Yeah. He's kind of he's another kind of favorite villain that's kind of brutal, but somehow takes a liking to Carl. Ends up kind of thinking of him almost like his own son or something, and so that's some interesting stories that's going there. I mean, Carl should be close to around the age where they can start doing more of that, where they can start getting into the idea of like him having a love interest or something now, which would have been just creepy before. He was too young.
Yeah, right.
Honestly, I like Carl more as a character than Rick. I think Rick's too chaotic. Where Carl's interesting because not necessarily his actor, but the character, because he's somebody that grew up in this world, which makes him more interesting to me.
I would say, that makes it more interesting. He's had to grow up in this world and sort of adapt to it.
As he gets older and gets his own agencies and can make his own choices, that makes the show more interesting to me. So if they are going in that direction, then that could be a good thing.
That is where I think the focus should shift if they're smart about it, because that is definitely a more interesting. That's probably the most interesting character story happening right now.
All right, so let's move on then. Next day, Monday, October 12th, Fargo returns. Now this season is going to actually be a prequel season to the first season, and it's going to focus on the father of the female lead. In the last season, when he was younger. It takes place in 1979, my birth year actually, and it's going to feature Bruce Campbell as Ronald Reagan.
Yes.
So that's worth it right there alone. I want to see Bruce Campbell doing a Ronald Reagan impression. I mean, that's worth it right there alone. But I mean, in Fargo style, I mean, big cast. Ted Danson joining the cast. I can't think of his name. Guy from Burn Notice played Michael Weston. Jeffrey Donovan is in the cast. He looks interesting in the trailer.
So we're going to have Jeffrey Donovan and Bruce Campbell, so it's going to be kind of like a Burn Notice reunion.
Yeah. Is it Kirsten Dunst or Kristen Dunst? What is it?
I think it's Kirsten Dunst.
Kirsten Dunst, yeah, is in the season as well, yeah. So I mean, big cast, interesting, kind of setting, 1979, with that kind of weird humor that Fargo had is going to be kind of fun to watch.
Oh yeah, definitely. The first season was so much fun and such a surprise.
The best scene was the one we talked about how frustrating it is not to see the action, but one of the best scenes in Fargo season 1 was when Malvo walked into the building, and instead of actually showing what's happening in the building, you just hear it, and the camera's moving, panning around the building to like around where he would be in the building at that time. So like he'll go in an elevator, and so it goes up, and then it goes left because he was walking to the left, and you're just hearing everything, and you're only seeing the outside of the building, and it's amazing.
It's amazing. It was like the best scene, and the whole scene and the whole part of that scene, because of the way it's framed, is because you have the FBI agents parked right outside. Completely oblivious to what's going on inside. They're looking for this guy, and he's inside that building causing all that mayhem.
Just murdering everyone, yeah.
Just murdering everybody, and they're parked right outside, like completely oblivious to anything that's going on. That was such an awesome scene.
So yeah, if we can get more of that with this season of Fargo, that kind of like sense of humor that they did, with the kind of weird quirkiness, the Midwestern quirkiness and stuff, That's going to be really cool to watch. So I'm looking forward to that, definitely. Kat, did you ever watch Fargo, the movie or the TV series?
I've seen bits and pieces of the movie. Like, I used to live in Minnesota, so I've always been kind of curious about it, but I think I'm kind of turned off by some of the R-rated material, so I've never actually watched the whole thing.
The series is less graphic in that way. It's more in tone, like tonally similar with the sense of humor and stuff. So I think you'd like the series.
I just watched the trailers and
you get a lot of you
because
betchas and
they have the upper Midwest accents, but they're so intentionally over-exaggerated.
Oh yeah. It is. It's definitely playing with that.
Yeah, it's definitely played.
You betcha.
It's definitely played. Yeah, it's played the humorous effect because of the tone of it. It's like it's got.
There's a scene in the trailer that's great with Jeffrey Donovan's character, like ordering basically like I think it's his brother or one of his underlings to like beat a guy one more time, and then he turns around, they're like in a store, like, and he's like a chocolate store, some kind of like a donut shop or something, and he's like, I'll have a chocolate donut please, or they're like continuing to order like a guy being beaten. It's really funny. But yeah, so let's move on from that. Got a few shows coming up throughout the next couple weeks, but none of it are kind of really of interest to talk about, and then we land October 26th with Supergirl. Now, we've already talked a lot about this.
I'm just gonna wait and see. I'll absolutely watch without a doubt. I'm trying to keep my expectations muted.
This is one we're gonna have to do impressions on. We just have to. It's too big not to.
Definitely.
Right.
No matter how it turns out, whether it's miserably bad or great or...
Yeah.
I mean, for better or for worse, this is probably one of the only major superhero or action shows on TV with a female lead that's coming out this fall. So I mean that's kind of a pretty big weight to have on Supergirl's shoulders right there. So it's going to be interesting just from that angle,
Yeah, that's going to be an exciting one to watch. So, I mean, there's just not too much more to say about it than we've said before. We talked a lot before about kind of our concerns with it and the kind of issues and how similar humorously as it was to the Black Widow parody pilot that they did on not pilot but parody sketch they did on Saturday Night Live, and how just kind of like beat for beat the similarity is to that, and so it'll be interesting to see how that's handled. And I think no matter how it turns out, it's going to be a topic of fascinating conversation.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. October 31st, Ash versus the Evil Dead. Now, I'm actually going to be having a party for this. I'm having some friends over on Halloween on the 31st. We're going to watch all of the Evil Dead movies, and then we're going to watch the show. This is how excited I am for the Evil Dead, for Ash versus the Evil Dead. I absolutely adored the films. I absolutely love Bruce Campbell. I love Sam Raimi. So I know Will's in the same boat as me. I know Kat's, this is not going to be your thing. I wouldn't even recommend it to you if you were willing to try it. It just is not for you. But yeah.
For you, Kat. Not
yeah,
for you.
it's not for you. But man, am I excited for it. And watching the trailer, they just nailed it so well. Like they got it. It's just, I mean, of course, it's all the same people, but it's been so long, and they nailed it. I mean, like Bruce Campbell as Ash, like I took it for granted because he hasn't played Ash in so long, and then you see him back in it, and it's like, yeah, of course he's Ash still. He's still got it.
Not a single thing in that trailer fell off, and that was remarkable. Because you're expecting to come back, you're always anxious when you approach these things when they come back after such a long hiatus. You're like,
well, it's like how people are reacting to the X-Files, which seems not to be that great from what a lot of people are kind of looking at with the X-Files remake. And I'm sure it's how people are going to be looking towards Twin Peaks too, with a lot of nervousness, about how it's going to be.
Because there's the expectations that you set up in your head based off the original material. And sometimes after such a long time too, you can start to have like these kind of rose tinted glasses when thinking about that material, to where you hold it in such a high regard that no new material released could live up to your memories. And I'm excited to say that so far, based on this trailer, this does live up to everything I wanted an Evil Dead follow-up to be. So,
well, you know what else? What's interesting is that this is a half-hour series, and at first that was kind of a little bit of a concern for me, but now I'm feeling more and more like that works. Like for Evil Dead, that works. It means it's going to be snappy, and that's what's important, you know.
It's not going to overstay its welcome, basically.
Yeah.
You know that could definitely work.
So yeah, I'm really excited about that.
So I'll have to subscribe to Stars for this. Thank you, Stars, for making me spend more money.
But hey, you know, you're getting Evil Dead out of it, so this is our Evil Dead 4.
This is our Evil Dead 4. It is glorious.
So yeah, I'll probably be writing some stuff as that approaches, just because about the topic, just because I'm such a huge fan of the movie. So, but let's move on now to Friday, November 6th, Master of None on Netflix. This is a new sitcom. We don't know too terribly much. We got premise information, but this is Aziz Ansari from Parks and Recreation. This is his new series. Kat, you're a big Parks fan like I am. Are you excited about Master of None?
I feel like I know next to nothing about this. Was it on the list? I looked through the whole list last night.
Yeah, it was on there.
I know nothing about this.
It's kind of a semi-autobiographical thing about Aziz Ansari's life, basically, where I think he's playing an actor.
Oh, okay.
And
you know.
And it's about how he can't make decisions.
All respect to Aziz Ansari, but Tom was pretty low on my list of characters, and so I look at something like that and kind of go, So.
I'm interested. I think a lot of my interest in it is this is a Netflix series, and they've been just doing great, and I want to see what they're going to do with a comedy series like this, and you know, if they're going to get a little experimental with it, you know, with how it's put together. So, yeah, I mean, there's just not too much to say about it. If you like Aziz Ansari, then Master of None is something to check out. If Aziz Ansari is not your bag, then this show is probably best avoided. Let's move on. November 15th on Sunday, Into the Badlands on AMC. This is kind of their post-apocalyptic-esque, like Western-like martial arts epic. I don't know, I guess Mad Max with Kung Fu, or how you describe it. It's the main thing is that they're trying to do a true style, you know, like a Hong Kong film epic as a TV series. That's like the major kind of point here. Do either of you have any interest in that? I mean, it's something that hasn't really been done before.
I don't know. I might watch it. Right now, I'm not too terribly interested.
Kat?
Nah.
Well, let's move on to our final entry on our topic list for tonight. We have The Man in the High Castle coming to Amazon. We watched the first episode. I think we all liked it, but Kat, you don't seem like you're too interested in the series as a whole. I think you said before.
No, I mean the pilot was decent, but I think it would be a hard thing for me to watch. I think that it's just such a bleak premise.
Yeah.
Like, yes, we lost World War II. I think it's too bleak for me.
See, I'm on the other side. I just could not be more excited about this.
I could not. Yeah, so, it looked excellent. I mean,
I want to see more of this world. I want to see what everything means.
Of this world. Yeah, I want to see what everything means. I want to see what it means when they got the field reels showing what actually happened in like the real world. Like And those film reels are like contraband. And I'm like, well, where did those come from? What? I mean, that was such like a mind trip when that happened. And it was like, okay. So that was like one of the coolest parts of that pilot. But, also there's the whole thing, it's alternate history. And it's really cool to kind of explore these like what ifs, these alternate universes where, things didn't go the way that you know them to have went, and what that world is like. And another thing is interesting is they're setting up the conflict between Germany and Japan. That's going to be happening. So there's a lot of cool stuff happening in this show, and just the pilot alone that I am anxious to see it followed up on and expanded upon. And I just can't wait.
This is a actual faithful adaptation of a Philip K. Dick property.
Yeah, this isn't taking a Philip K. Dick property, then distorting the meaning
into
as
a Willy Wonka cop procedural.
To Willy Wonka cop procedural. I don't know. Maybe in the next episode, the main guy meets up with this sexy female detective, and then they solve crimes.
God, don't curse it for us, Will. Don't curse it.
They solve crimes for the Third Reich.
Well, that pretty much brings it to an end of our upcoming fall schedule. So we kind of talked about what we're interested in, what we're skeptical about. So let us know what you think. Send in some emails or leave some comments on the story, whatever. But this is the fall season that's coming up, and that's kind of what our thoughts have been on it. So one last thing before we go, I like to kind of go over what's coming up in the next week on TV at the end of each podcast. So coming up on Friday, August 28th, that is tomorrow, or actually today for Will, right now. And by the time you listen to this, it'll be out. Narcos is hitting Netflix. This is the Pablo Escobar kind of story being done as a TV series on Netflix with Pedro Pascal is in it as a DEA agent, and I don't know too terribly much more. I've seen the trailer for it. I'm familiar with it because of Pedro Pascal's involvement. I know it's about Pablo Escobar and the whole kind of like the hunt for him, and it kind of shows both sides of that. I've heard people refer to it as sex, murder, and cocaine, That pretty much brings us to an end. This is our 24th podcast. Our 25th is going to be about 2.5, 3 weeks, maybe more away. We want to do something kind of special for it. We're doing Advocates of Great Television. We're trying to get some of our old people back involved in it. That's all for us. So thank you, everybody, for listening. Bye.
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 If you would like to voice your opinion, send an email to theweeklyset@TVEnthusiast.com. TV Enthusiast is a part of the Enthusiast Media Network. Stay tuned to TV Enthusiast and the Weekly Set podcast for more coverage